Hello, everyone, and thanks so much for tuning in to the Raise Your Own Bar podcast. My name is Tamara Bucky, and I'm excited today to interview a dear friend of mine who has had a world of experiences, some good, some bad, including a 3-year stint in prison. And I want to talk about redemption and resiliency. Welcome, everybody, David Scott.
Hey, it's phenomenal to be here. Obviously, I'm David Scott, and I'm just excited. I'm excited to share because that's how we move through these
Yes,
things.
we learn from other people and we heal through sharing our
Yeah.
pain and our stories. So it's an honor to interview you. And we're living in Alabama now, but you're from New York. You've moved around a lot. Let's just talk about your background a little bit.
Okay. Well, I'm from New York, from Brooklyn, New York originally, and I spent a lot of time moving around the United States to different places earlier on. And then in 1999, during the Y2K epidemic, um, my parents were like, just in case, we're going to move to the top of a mountain in Alabama. And I ended up here in originally in Scottsboro, Alabama. Um, and it was scary at first for me. Being from New York, moving to Scottsboro was like a big culture shock. And I think a year or two into living here, I found Huntsville and fell in love. And I've been on and off here in Huntsville for the last 20 plus years, 24, got 25 years, you know. So and I really love a lot of stuff about Alabama, specifically Huntsville.
Same.
Um, and so, I've got a background in sales. I grew up working with my mother's company in New York doing cold calling and dealing with selling cleaning service. And so I was probably 13 or 14 when that started. Um, yeah, and I continued on that path in different sales positions probably for a decade. Um, and I'd say that in my mid 20s, I got into uh, the cannabis industry. And I'm pretty OC. When I do something, I just do it and a lot of it. And so then I guess for the next better part of a decade, I worked in that industry. Most of that was gray market work mixed with some not gray market work. I ran a farm for many years out in California that was licensed for production. Um, and then I also dabbled here and there and got in trouble. Um, I got in trouble in 2016 here in Huntsville. Um, the bust, what they call it? They called it the Holy Grail of Huntsville. And they advertised it when, in the beginning of that, what they want you to work for them. They tell you they'll go light on you if you do. And when I wouldn't work with them, they released so much propaganda around my arrest. And it's all very available. So if you want to look at my resume, just look up David Scott, $1 million bust, Huntsville. Uh, so that was a major career hit. Um, yeah. And then I fought the case for 2 years and ended up settling from a life sentence to a 10-year split and did 3 years in the Alabama prison system, which I hear is the worst, but I don't have experience in any other prison system. So I can't be like, oh, it was the worst compared to this, but it was a different lifestyle, you know? And then after all that was said and done, I got out and I met my romantic partner slash business partner to date, and we launched a cannabis company. We spent a year based out of Huntsville in Madison County. We spent a year doing our paperwork and getting in touch with the officials of Huntsville to make sure that there wasn't going to be an issue with policing and we were going to be able to serve wellness products without any hassle. And now from then to here, we are on our second year in business. It's been wonderful. The people have been amazing. The industry has evolved so much. And now I pay Uncle Sam. with the money from our products, and everything is very square and run properly. Our and we also work in an industry because it's not legal cannabis as a standard. It's essentially hemp because of how THCA and the law was written.
Hmm.
Um, it hasn't been updated enough to where there's any real regulations. And so because of my background in the industry, I work with providers from growers, extraction, packaging to sales that are a closed loop. So uh, I know that I'm delivering clean products that aren't going to hurt anyone, which is important here because that's something you're putting into your body. But like from slinging nicks and dimes on a corner to running a legal licensed business selling high quality, and it's a full range of products from dry flower to healing salves that don't get you intoxicated, but instead give you pain relief. And that's been like when someone tells me how how amazing the product is and how much I've helped them, which is like, okay, I appreciate that. It's hard to take that kind of feedback just because there's so much out there and they can get it from different places, but just that idea that I'm making a difference in their life when it comes to their pain management, I believe that that's really the core of what this is all about, right? Like alternative ways of healing and taking care of yourself that aren't so detrimental, and so what a spectrum, and a crazy journey to get here.
Yeah, and I remember before everything happened, and even before you went to California to have your grow operation out there, I remember having conversations with you about the usefulness of cannabis products, and being from California myself and having grown up with a different mindset, different culture surrounding
Yeah.
cannabis. It's very different here in Alabama. And so I remember talking to you about that because you were so passionate about it. You wanted to make it your career because you knew it was changing lives. I have a cousin who, without cannabis, he cannot function. He has seizures, including grand mal seizures.
Yeah.
And he was diagnosed with that. He's older than me. So I'm going to say he's probably like 46, 47.
Okay.
He was diagnosed with seizures in his 20s. And when he started um, smoking and taking orally and applying topically, he does all the things, cannabis, he was able to change his life because he couldn't go even 10 minutes without having seizures. And now he might have a seizure a week. I
Yeah.
mean, it is phenomenal. And so that the legalization of cannabis in California to the medical side first is when he, got his prescription card and started in that, and then he became a grower, and he
Yeah.
actually grew cannabis and sold it back to the dispensaries for a while. Um, and now he's somewhat retired from that. And of course, we know it's legal for recreational use in California now. So it's just amazing to see the journey and the different culture growing up there and being around it there to hear. Um,
Yeah.
I've had conversations with Alabamians that they think marijuana is akin to heroin.
Sure.
Hmm.
There's a very skewed perspective because of such a lack of knowledge and a lot of propaganda behind it that um when you have something that is not open for research, right? I mean, like how long have we been legitimately legal and even a medical sense? I think 96 was probably
Mm.
the beginning with California, and that was a different type of program than we're talking about 30 years ago with a different and so and there's been a lot of scare tactics, and you think about reefer madness, and for those of you who have seen reefer madness, that wasn't meant to be funny and a joke, that was meant to be serious. And uh now with what we know, obviously no one's going to go back and be like, oh, we were wrong,
Of
oops,
course not.
right? Or we had an ulterior motive, and so the truth is coming out, and I can't represent as some kind of a medical practitioner. I have to be just a guy who knows about it and knows about experiences people you know uh, had. And so like if I talk about it, I can't say the salve will take away your pain. What I can say, and this is part of that stigma, right? What I can say is my other clients report to me that it works in 12 to 15 minutes, and it literally takes a 6 or a 7 on the pain level down to a 1 or a 2, and that they love it and continue to use it. I can't say that it actually works. I can only give this uh, other person's experience because it's still such a touchy topic, right? And we're talking about night and day. Someone who has I have a friend I grew up with in Brooklyn who had seizures, and we started smoking in our early teens, and he stopped having seizures. It was like 1 or 2 a year from literally 2 or 3 a week. And when you see that kind of empirical evidence, right? You're
Wow.
talking about what changed, you know? Uh, it's just hard not to support it and want to tell people about it. And like business aside, money aside, everyone deals with pain. And people who deal with chronic pain are not getting to live their lives. You're talking about the constant nagging reminder, right? That pushes on all of our inner fears of us not being well enough to take care of ourselves, right? And if something that's not going to hurt your liver or your kidney, right, that's not severely addictive, uh, and is affordable,
Mhm.
can help you have your life, it just makes sense.
And
And
you can
so,
grow it yourself too. I mean, like my cousin grows his own supply and has
you
for
know,
decades. And I have actually an aunt that does the same. So the idea of being able to, I mean, you're talking about having your own essentially free medicine once you get going with it.
yeah,
How
it's
many
not
other
very
things,
expensive to produce.
how many other things exist like that where you can genuinely help yourself with just your hands and a little bit of work?
But yeah, I mean, it is kind of the gift from above, and in so many ways. And I know that earlier on, like way earlier on, while I was still um, not quite as educated, I remember this one friend of mine who I worked with talking about his sister and how she had an opiate addiction, and it was really bad for years. And as soon as he started giving her or providing her with these taffies that uh, I had access to, um, he said that she kicked her heroin addiction. Uh, and he said that the edibles were strong enough and lasted long enough that she could dose this. And it's the damage on your body. It's just nowhere near the same. And I'm not going to say I know what the damage is, but I can tell you just what makes sense is that your body synthesizes cannabinoids already. It's part
Hmm.
of how you keep your homeostasis, how you stay in that system and balance your hormones and other stuff. And essentially, all you're doing with cannabis is you're bringing in phytocannabinoids instead of the cannabinoids you synthesize. And so, why wouldn't you give your system a better chance to deal with balancing itself? Like just on that other level.
I can speak from some experience. I've never done opioids, but I have lost family members to opioids. I've had three family members pass away, and
Yeah.
I have three family members that are in active addiction still. And it started with opioids, and it moved to heroin, and now fentanyl, and it's horrible for your body. I mean, your bones become brittle, your organs can fail. I mean, I have a cousin who's younger than me who looks significantly older than me because of how long she's been doing drugs and the effects that they have on their body. Not to mention your teeth, because when you're on these drugs, you stop caring, and so you stop. It's not that the drugs rot your teeth, it's actually that you don't care, and so you just don't take care of your teeth anymore. And
Well,
often,
you're not sleeping, you're not eating properly, you're not taking care of the basic stuff that we need to take care of, right? Uh, it's really important that we continue to push as hard as it takes to make this available to everyone and not super expensive. It doesn't have to be. I appreciate how the pharmaceutical companies haven't had a chance to really get their hands on this, for whatever reason. I think mostly because of federal regulations, right? And the money. But like It's, it's important that this doesn't become another genetically modified, abused, poisonous thing, because
We
it
already
can.
know that's where it's going, unfortunately. If Monsanto buys up or Bayer buys
That's what
up
I was thinking.
cannabis or Pfizer, I mean, it's going to be GMO.
Yeah.
It's going to be, if anything, they'll do extractions and synthesize,
You
which,
know, add their own stuff to make it more addictive and
yeah,
easily absorbable, and then all of a sudden you start to get into this kind of, you know, an industry that I don't really consider molested yet. But
yeah,
like when you think about what happens on the other side of that, when it's all about the dollar
it is all about the dollar.
instead of humanity, then
Yeah,
we lose our integrity, we lose our direction, you know.
yeah.
And that's essentially what happened. I was money hungry, I was power hungry, I was operating in a way that wasn't integral, like earlier on, because like don't get me wrong, I'm not um like an aggressor, right? Or a cheater, or like I don't go out of my way to deceive people, but I
You have
wasn't.
ethics.
I have ethics, but I was at that time working, and up to that point, I was a little fast, I was a little loose, and I was too addicted personally to the power and position and the money, right? And so like I lost perspective along the way and got myself in some trouble. Uh, a curse, but it was a curse then. Looking back at what I got from having 3 years to to recognize first off that the world doesn't need me,
Mm,
right? And I don't mean it like, oh, I'm not valuable. What I mean is that if I'm not there, the bills are still getting paid, people are still getting fed. I'm not so responsible as I believed I was for other people's ability to be. And so there was a amazing wake up about how like I don't have to do everything, right? It was very freeing. And you get that proved to you when you can't do anything,
wow.
right? And everything still continues. But there was just so much value in reflecting for 3 years while being in that environment about really what I wanted and what I wanted to, what I wanted to create or cultivate in this world, right? And I know I took that time, right? I spent a lot of time with individuals who didn't take the time, right? They didn't take the time
They didn't make
to
the time, they didn't
they
make
didn't
use
make
of the time. It is
they
what
didn't
it
make
is.
use of the time, right? The same old song and dance. And it was a blessing to see that around me so regularly because there was so much drugs. I've never seen more drugs and hard drugs in one place.
Mm,
As well as like, when you've got 700 or 800 inmates and 20 officers or 20 guards, the guards are just there to clean up, if that makes sense. You
wow.
get to live in that environment, and when it's constantly part of your environment, at least for me, I had such a clear picture for what I wanted and what I didn't want. Like I got to live it every day, and you know, yeah, I knew that I was like I was going to take care of my mind and clean up what was happening or what had happened. I was going to get my body in the most amazing physical shape I could in the circumstance. And when I finally was released from that environment, I was going to work extra hard in continuing in a path that I loved in a way that worked for everyone around me and myself. Right. And so this has been the most amazing experience. And I couldn't say that years ago when I was in it. I can only say that now after I've been from the start point to now, and I can see what everything meant and how it fit in place.
Yeah, that makes sense. And honestly, I've known a lot of people in my life that have gone to jail. I've come from hillbilly roots, you know this. So a lot of family members in and out of jail and whatnot. But I didn't worry about you. I knew of all my friends, of all the people I know, if anybody can survive prison and come out better for it and possibly make some positive changes in the system itself while they're there, it's you. And so I'm proud of you for that. I hate you had to go through it. I really do. But I'm
I
so
hated
glad
it
you
then, I
did.
love it now, and I appreciate the support. And And like you kind of touched on, I appreciate that you weren't in fear for me, that you trusted that I could handle. And I've had some feedback from other people like that. That's one of the roughest parts for me, at least, because I care about everyone in my family. Um, I know what's happening for me. I'm inside and I'm me. They don't.
Yeah.
And so it must, from what I've heard from some others who had a lot of fear around that, it must be tough for those who love someone dearly, who's serving time, to not be in connection with them and in fear, and to the same respect, like I would not want, I have friends that I would not want to have to serve a sentence because I don't think it would work for them, if
Hmm.
that makes sense. That would be like criminal college and the end of whatever chance they had being stuck in that environment, right? Because um, it's not a place for you to um, learn about what you did wrong and how to do right, right? Prison is not a place for
Rehabilitation.
it's not a place for rehabilitation. It's a place for more of the same, right? It's a
It's
bunch of people
more,
with
it's more
mental
than
health.
this.
Oh,
Like,
yes.
that's the
Another,
thing.
listen,
Like more of the same. Like that's what people don't understand. You said it earlier, and I know we've talked about this before. If you have done something wrong that lands you in prison, now you're going to crime college. Now you're going to learn about every other opportunity for crime out there. And it actually corrupts people that just went on a bad path, but they weren't bad yet. But then
yes,
they get institutionalized with all these other hardened criminals, and they are actually worse for the wear.
yes.
And so is
And
society.
when you discount human life and you just look at the dollar, right? When it's all about the money, then it makes sense to have a system like that because it continues to make money privately. And so, like, at some point, I sure hope that we pay doctors for taking care of people who aren't sick. I would
Mm,
rather I would rather pay someone, right, like a doctor. But why would a doctor fix someone? And I say this very loosely. It's a very finite statement that is not applicable for all. I have some brilliant people in my life who are doctors and lawyers and accountants and aren't pieces of work like that. Like they're not abusing human life. They're not milking people, right? But for the most part, when you have a system and it's based about that dollar, it's not about making people well. It's not about fixing your illness. It's about keeping you ill so that the money can be generated. And it's the same with the prison system. It's not about rehabilitation, it's the continuation of a system. And it doesn't integrally hold for humanity, right? Like y- humanity is lost in that mix in so many ways, and it's a shame because we thrive and on a deep level we need connection and community and I start to think about this like because the emotions kind of come up and the first thing I think about is there's a lot of mental health issues that like the people I did time with, most of them were mental health cases that turned into that because they were never handled. And that part is like, the idea that, one group is less than another or should have better rights than others, or boys don't cry. You got, you can't have emotions like that because of how you'll be ridiculed. And there's this false story being told behind all of these faces we look at that cause this disconnect, right? Like where's the community, which also drives people inside to join some type of a community, right?
yeah.
Um,
Well, that's all
but
anybody wants, right? Is
yeah,
community. We've talked before about Maslow's hierarchy of needs and how everyone has these basic needs. Everyone, no matter where you're at in the world, what your income level, what your ethnicity is.
yeah.
And in society and a prison is a society, right?
Oh
It's like a
yes.
city. It's a
It
snapshot
is
of
a
society.
it has its own micro economy happening, its
Yeah.
own policing that aren't the COs. Like it's an entire micro system.
Yeah. So in society, we want to find our place. We want to fit in and belong to a group and feel that other people have our backs. And
Yeah.
but even before that, we all have that goal or
Yeah.
that pull, right?
Hmm.
But we have survival instincts too,
Yeah.
and you can survive more with a group. I mean, this is just basic
Yeah.
brain, like
Well,
ancestral,
it,
instinctual kind of thing. We have to have a
that
group
that
to survive.
survival piece is so important though, because that like fight or flight, that survival, when you are in an interaction where something has gotten heated and too high and you sort of say things you don't really mean because you're in that fight or flight, that's where it all breaks down. That's where we start to lose our place. We're not thinking about what makes sense, right? It's just life or death in that environment internally. And so you take all these people in prison, they're in a life or death scenario. And how do you operate when you believe that your life is on the line? Are you thinking straight?
Nope.
You know, it's your life, right? And so even if it's really not, because I'm not saying it is life or death, I'm saying that's what happens for us. It's so difficult to operate from a place of like centered, connected purpose when we are literally in our circumstance fighting for our lives, you know?
Well, and even if the threat is not real, I mean, just think about how many people have anxiety. I have anxiety, and I have gone through things in my life that I had PTSD
You
episodes
know?
from. And
Yeah,
whether the threat is happening now or not, your body and your mind doesn't know that. And so the reaction
it's
in your body
real.
is the same. And
Yeah,
so think about that. Like I was in a constant state of fight or flight. Think about how productive I was at that time. What was the quality of my work at that time? And thank God I ended up working out a telework agreement so I could go home and
yeah,
I worked so much better there because I still had anxiety.
sure.
I still had fear.
Oh, and the PTSD is still
The
there, you
PTSD
know?
is there, but I didn't have like the constant, like you see a certain person and then you're immediately like, oh, I feel like I'm gonna die. I feel like I need to run and hide. I didn't have that at home.
Yeah. Um, Blessing and a curse. It's much easier to debug what happened for us when we have been separated from a situation. For me, it was so much of the situation that after about 8 or 9 months of it, I just started debugging it while it was happening, right? At some point, I kind of settled in and decided that this was my reality in prison. And even though I had to live with all of these people who, especially earlier on with my sentence, because there's like a whole nother internal system of testing to see what kind of person you are, whether you could be taken advantage of. And it's just like, that's life or death. Oh, right? Like, and I was doing some stuff that got me in trouble, no problem. I was not a killer for hire, right?
Yeah.
Like that wasn't my environment, and I wasn't like a heroin or a cocaine. Like I worked with cannabis. That was very specific because I wasn't really in that other side. But oh,
But now you're mixed up with all these people that are more hardened criminals than you. And thank
oh
God
yeah,
you're
we.
resilient because that,
Well, I position my from a social engineering perspective, I position myself in many roles of power, right? Like in prison, a good book is freedom. And I took over the library through certain actions that I took in positioning and brought a bunch of books into the prison, but I controlled the books. So all of a sudden, I'm kind of in a position of giving people little bits of freedom. And so they no longer want to test me or rob me or any of the other things that come with that territory. Now I'm the guy to know. And just from my own perspective, right, as not an avid reader before prison, I fell in love with reading.
an
And
escape.
absolutely. And a way to evolve too, because
Mhm.
through reading, you get to stand on the shoulders of those who've already been there, who've done their own experience. And so not only was I learning myself, but now I got to give a piece of that away to other inmates. Um, and so through that system, instead of taking like, I'm not going to bring drugs in, I'm not going to join part of the aggression or the one side of the group or the other that are fighting, but instead I'll provide both sides with books, right?
Um,
So
from start to finish, instead of physical enforcement, it was just, how can I give something of quality that will also keep me in a safer position, you know? And it did. I did end up in one scuffle in the library once with one person earlier on who tried to steal a book.
Huh.
Uh, but the cameras were positioned in certain there's a whole inner system. Everything turned out fine. No one got hurt very badly, and I'm a friend with the guy I got a scuffle with, and he gets all the books he wants.
Wow.
You
Well,
know,
so many things I want to say about that. For one, reading is reading has saved me
to me.
many times over. I fell in love with it as a child, and it was my way to escape a tumultuous living environment at home. It gave me
Oh
hope.
yeah,
It gave me options. It showed me that not everybody lives the same way I live, and it gave me something to visualize for my future. Um,
yeah. Perspective.
the fact that you were able to essentially you're in a position of zero power. You're in prison, literally of nothing other than maybe money on your books if your family, has it.
Yeah,
But knowing that you can become a resource, that you can become valuable, that you can establish leverage for yourself is so smart. It's just a brilliant thing to do. And in any environment, that's true. What
hmm,
can you bring to the table? Well, you figured out what people value, and then
yeah,
you figure out how can I help with that thing so that I
yeah.
can also provide value. And then you expanded that library. And
Oh yeah.
how many lives have been changed through the books that they read, we'll never know. But I would like to
Sure.
think that there are people out there reading these books that wouldn't have had them otherwise without your hard work.
A lot of these books, right, were from people like you, right? People who wanted me to and knew my personal growth edge, right? And so I got a lot of books on self-awareness and self-development and all this other stuff that I not only read, but that's when you talk about how many people it touched, those books are still circulating, right? The Untethered Soul, Getting the
Mhm.
Love You Want, the uh what was ask there's been so many books, and a lot of these books were about being an integral human being, cleaning up your stuff so that you could be in support and service to everyone else. And so in a deeper level, not just all the awesome books that we got in, but like a lot of those books were be a better human being books. So who knows, right? I know they helped me.
Well, you mentioned two key things that everyone needs for success, and it doesn't come easy, but that's self-awareness and self-management.
Yeah,
Knowing who you are and how you're perceived by others is everything. Forget how you see
yeah,
yourself. It's great. I love when people have a lot of confidence in themselves,
yeah,
but you have to respect how other people see you. And I had a rude awakening with that many
yeah.
years ago, probably 10 years ago, when I went through a leadership course. We had to do 360 evaluations. And so
Mm.
I had multiple people. I think I had like eight or maybe even 10 colleagues, bosses, former bosses that evaluated me as honestly as possible. And I was in this class and I chose the people to fill these out that I trusted. And it still hurt. It still hurt
Yeah.
when I read things that, like, a common one was I come across as a know-it-all. I like to
Bruh.
help. That's
Uh,
what it is. It's because I want to help, but I completely understand how I come across as that. And it's made me really have to take a step back and not talk as much in meetings and not be the first one to share my opinion in meetings. And
well, if everyone is telling you that this is what they're receiving, it doesn't matter what your message is. This is the message being received, and it's about connection. I had the same thing happen. I was managing a business in New York before my other career, and I was sat down by my sales manager, my front desk manager, and the assistant manager. I was the general manager, and and they're like, the staff calls you the thinker.
Ooh,
because of your white glove. And this was a cleaning service, the one that I had worked earlier on, because they see you walk in and put your glove on and check, and they're scared of you. And I was like, what? They're scared of me? Right? Like, I didn't think they were scared of me. I know that people are quiet and listen when I have something to say. This is my assumption. I know I'm authoritative, right? I didn't realize my staff was scared of me.
yeah,
And it was like between wanting to fight everyone that they're wrong, right? Which is, it's like, well, that's not the image I have. Well, if everyone thinks that you're scary, it doesn't matter what your image is, does it? Not really, because what you're putting off is scary. And so I had a similar situation about 20 years ago that was a big growth edge for me, because I got that it doesn't matter what I'm saying, it matters what's being received. And that's my job, right?
yeah,
It's my job. If I'm the messenger, it's my job. You're not stupid for not getting it. I'm at fault if the message isn't being received, if it's my message.
yeah. And just tweak the way you deliver that
Yeah,
message.
yeah,
And for me, I had to figure out how to still be helpful
yeah,
and provide information when I have it, and but do it in a way that does not come across as being a know-it-all or
yeah,
being bossy or any of those things, because I care about how other people receive me. And
yeah, absolutely. And
now
you
that
want your
I've,
message received,
for sure, we all do. I mean,
because we're trying to help.
otherwise we just talk to the wall. I mean, if you get
Exactly.
satisfaction out of talking to the wall, have at it, but most
Yeah, good
people
for you
don't.
then. No, no, no. We want to be validated, received. We want to help. Most of the intentions are good, right? But if we don't reflect and we don't take the feedback, I only have these two eyes. I need, or if not need, I want so badly to have your eyes on me too, so I can see what I'm missing.
Yeah. And you and I are so much alike in this way with we want to help, we get excited, we have ADHD, so we kind of scatterbrained
Yeah.
and we verbalize our thoughts. So
Yes.
correct me if you're not this way, but I actually have a hard time thinking inside my head.
Yeah, I like talking it out. It helps me see the pieces and put things together, not to mention sometimes feedback from others, depending on if it's that scenario. But um, yeah, no, I verbalize what's happening too, which is confusing for some people, and off-putting for others,
And annoying at times.
which is, but like when you say, and here's the other side of that spectrum. If the people you're used to dealing with have their own insecurities going on about how unimportant they are or how much better other people are than them, then it's possible for them to perceive whatever you're doing, right, as a you know it all, right? And so it's two parts of this. But I think it's our job as educators and teachers and the roles that we play, it's our job to recognize that and adjust so they can still get the message, because I'm not here uh, to force you to do your work. It's my job to do my work, right? And so if I see that there's something going on like that, right, and often driven by an insecurity from our past, then it's also my choice to accommodate that, right? And I
Yeah.
want to. I love people, I love people most of the time.
Most people.
Most people. I love
Yeah.
most people. And those that I don't love, I just don't know yet. I
Or
mean,
the ones
really.
that you know and you just stay away from them because you just know better.
Those ones, I
There's
left
a
them
few.
there.
There's a
They're
few
still in
that you just stay
prison.
away. Since I've been taking this coaching class, which is still going on, by the way, we were supposed to be
Yeah.
done, but our professor, he had some kind of an accident, and so he had a back injury, and now
Okay.
I just had my last class last night, so I
Okay.
will be sitting for the exam soon in the next couple of weeks, maybe month. But I tell you, I've learned so much through the coaching journey because this is how you can get the information out there to people and still be helpful, but not dictatorial, because that's how I was coming
Yeah.
across. Like I was trying to tell
Sure.
people what to do, which is not my intention.
Yeah.
I really just want to give people options so they know they have other choices. And the coaching framework
Yes.
is amazing for that because rather than telling people you ask questions to get them to find that answer for themselves. And it's an art, of course, it's a science and an art,
Yes,
and it's a habit that you build. And I'm still working through that. But that's been very beneficial to me for
it
my
is. From that same perspective, it is so much more absorbable to come to the conclusion yourself just with the right guided questions than to be told. And it's just so we've seen that proven over and over again. You know, you're not going to tell me what to do. You know, but if we're talking and something he says rings true and it gets me thinking and I come to the conclusion that you want to tell me about anyway, all of a sudden the power behind it is so much different. And so that's the real work, right? Not saying it, but saying just enough, right, to help someone get there.
and you got to spoon feed people.
So,
You and I have a tendency to verbal vomit, and
yes, too much information and too
rapid
quickly.
questions, too many ideas. Like
Yeah,
you and I,
and we are not the standard when it comes to the masses, and so because of that, the way that we operate is a much smaller section of society that operates that way, and so it doesn't really fit well with the norm. And so, do we want to participate? I do. I
yeah,
have to adjust my operating to deal with the masses because of that. And then on the side time, me and you can just ADD out together.
and we do, and
And we do.
we cover so much ground in an hour conversation because of our
Yes.
ADD
Yeah.
tendencies.
And it's
Uh,
always so rich. The
yeah,
content is so rich.
because I
Yeah.
hate small talk. Like, let's talk about
Yeah.
deep stuff. Let's talk about the dark stuff. Yeah.
I've been recently practicing loving the small talk.
Hmm.
Because I don't want to hate it anymore. Because I, like you, I hate the small talk. Don't beat around the bush. But there's a lot, and it's not just in the South. I'm realizing it's much broader than this. There's a lot of people who communicate much differently. And there's a lot of innuendos and other stuff where they're skirting, but this is how they communicate. And so I'm working on trying to change my perspective from you're slow or stop wasting my time to this is another bleeding heart who wants love and wants connection. And so what does it cost me to try to create that? Right. Okay. So I'll give you the extra 30 minutes to say something that takes me to, right? Because I love and I want to cultivate the space because I know that even the 18 extra minutes, or is that right? That's 20 minutes on 30, the 28 extra minutes it takes to get there might be life changing, right?
For sure. And the idea that one, you have to always tailor your message to the audience. And we get impatient with, we want people to be like us.
I want you to know now. I want you to be better
Yeah.
now. I don't want you to,
Like,
yeah,
I don't want to have to
yes,
say 12 sentences if I could just tell you one. Like, this
yeah.
seems like a waste. It seems inefficient. And that's, I
Uh,
think, an issue
that's
for us.
that, yeah, that's that internal story is that we don't have the time for this. We could be
Yep.
doing something better, you know, and that's part of that battle and learning to love just being here, just with the
Yeah.
moment and not so caught up in our ADHD brains, because that's just it. Just like, yo, I need to keep moving,
Yeah.
right? And that's part of, you know, learning to not learning to be okay just like we are where we are. That's like that was prison 101 was learning to accept my reality and not live in a fantasy,
Yeah.
you know, because it's even out here, a lot of people they live in fantasies without just accepting the reality, right?
Hmm.
So, and that's our personal attachments to a situation. It's a baseball. You may not like it. I may love it. It may represent something else to you. In the end, it's just this thing without any of these attachments we add to it.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And you have to have small talk. Like, I recognize that you have to have it for building rapport. You know, you're not going to meet a stranger at a networking event and just immediately like, tell me about the relationship with your dad. You know, you have to have some small
Oh,
talk. Talk about
okay.
the weather, talk about
Let
the
me counter
town.
that. Every once in a while, you can have that. That's where me and you come in when we met each other. But for the most part, no, it doesn't work that way. Without rapport, without trust, those walls are up and they're not going to give you who they really are, right? And so, a big learning curve
for me and is still currently in action because I've been working on like slowing down and making space for people to just tell their story. You can start your story and I'll tell you where it's going. I could probably feed it back for you almost verbatim without you saying it. And I'm learning to keep it to myself and make space for them to express themselves. And then we can get down to the nitty gritty. Then once that's there, then we can talk about stuff. But we have to drop those walls to get real, to for the real connection first. And so as someone who knows this, right, I can't be ignorant of it. I know this. It's up to me to take responsibility and make space, right?
Yeah. And when you're communicating with people, I mean, communication is so crucial. Like, one, know your audience,
Yeah.
which we've said. Two, um, build rapport so that you can have that intimacy and closeness. And then three, you don't have to say every thought in your head. I mean, this is something that I'm still working on because I have so many thoughts that go through my mind, but
Hmm.
you don't have to say every thought in your head.
Yeah.
You can hold information back and not share your opinion. You know, do you have any thoughts on that? Because it's something that I struggle with.
Um, yeah. This piggybacks on what you said before about getting people to recognize it without telling them. Keep your opinion to yourself. Lead them to the same outcome. If it works, great. Otherwise, scrap it and let it go. Right. But I'm a fixer. Right. I
Yep.
hear it. I see it. I know the answer. That is a superficial perspective of a real situation. It's not about fixing it because that's what us fixers do. We get into that fixing point, and so we miss maybe the real message going on because of people who will talk around and beat around the bush or not be forward, right? So we think that this is the issue because we're so forward. We're kind of data driven. It's really not. It has nothing to do with this. This is just a catalyst for other stuff going on internally for them or in the background. And so I think that it's just about making space and continuing to ask questions to get them to it and letting go of your part, right? Or applying your part to yourself.
Yeah.
Easily said, much harder to do, right? Like I am guilty of my romantic partner will talk to me and she'll be like, okay, don't try to fix this. I just want you to listen. And then 15 minutes later into the conversation of me listening and feeding back so that I know that she knows that I'm listening to her, I'll start trying to fix it. I'll literally unconsciously be like, well, why don't you?
Yep.
And then I create this whole other issue because it was never really about that. I made up because the information and how I process is about data that this was the issue. It wasn't that. It was, I want to connect with my partner. I want to be seen and validated. Nothing to do with this stuff we're talking about. And so as I get off my own high horse and recognize that a lot of people aren't actually talking about the real problem, I start to realize that my solution is really not a solution for the true problem.
Mm. You were trying to
Because
solve the symptom when really you were overlooking the root cause.
yeah, and that's been a big learning curve for me, right? Because I still I've been practicing for the better part of a year, not adding my 2 cents.
Mm.
And maybe I've got it right 3 times out of 100. And I'm pretty centered. I'm pretty conscious. I do a lot of personal work. I do a lot of practice work. I have notes around, and it's so deeply ingrained for me to want to help and want to fix that I miss my opportunity to do that in a way that works for them.
Yeah, same. We're twins. I'm telling
Oh
you.
yeah,
That's why I want
same
to interview
issues.
you because we have the
That's
same
good.
problems.
Yeah,
I will subconsciously revert to my habits and disregard what I said I was going to do or what my plan was to do. And I do the same thing. I'll find myself
yeah,
giving advice and giving
yeah,
opinions. And um, this coaching training has really helped me with that
yeah,
because coaching, you're never supposed to give advice. You are
yeah.
not supposed to give your opinions. You're not supposed to give advice. You're not supposed to answer their questions. You are there to guide them through answering their own questions.
And on a deeper level, I think as I do my own self-exploration, I have this deep want to be helpful. and to be part of a solution. And there's some dirty attached to it. It's not all integrally, it's not all clean because there's my own belief that maybe I'm not enough or haven't done enough, right? All of these internal insecurities running on beliefs that haven't been tested or confirmed. And so, you know, there's, as helpful as we are, there's still a very large possibility that it's part of our dramas playing out in real time, right? And that doesn't make it bad or good,
Mhm.
right? I'm not defining the drama as a bad or good, but more of an automated byproduct of something else going on internally. It's worked out really well in some cases, right? Like often there's a lot of people who will think about projects and want to do projects and talk to people about projects and never get around to it, right? Often I just do,
Yeah.
and it's painful, but I get things done, and it's painful because there's less planning. So there's some pitfalls to it, but because of my drive to just do it, often I'm fairly successful because of not giving up and just moving towards that. And the reason I bring that up, what was my point of reference for this?
Why we give unsolicited advice because we just want to be helpful, which underneath that is we just want to be loved.
So I think that the reason I drive like that is because I'm so afraid of not being valuable or not being good or not showing up that I just do it anyway. Right. And so like there's this part where it's like it can be cleaned up and done in a much better way, better, right? This is driven from some kind of an emotional, constipation or something from the past, likely that caused the behavior. Big benefits. And if I can debug it and not allow it to drive as a reactive behavior, but as a choice, a action, right? Then
Yeah.
I get to do it and it's clean. So big benefit is you sent me a piece of content recently and I loved that, and I've been sending it around, by the way.
Oh,
um
which I'm not
the
even sure.
the one piece where the woman's talking
Oh,
about
the video.
the
Yeah,
bully,
yeah. Hmm.
right? And that, just that little piece is just, and this is one of the many dramas, but like, you don't have to be a bully who beats people up. You can be the bully who's like, you got this. You don't give up. Don't ever give up. I got you. I'm going to call you later to see if you did it. And it's like, that's the same coin. It's just the other side. Ah,
Essentially, what you're talking about, it's a strength overdone, right? I mean, a
okay.
bully and a fitness coach, what's the difference? The thing that they're pumping up, right?
Yeah.
This is something I learned through SDI, the Strengths Deployment Inventory Assessment.
Hmm.
Everybody has the same pool of strengths in their arsenal,
Hmm.
but we can overdo them and then they become weaknesses.
Sure. Yeah. It's application, right? Like, you know, yeah, just application. If you do it, I think everyone, let's just say mostly everyone, because there's some people who maybe are missing a chromosome or I don't know what. But what I mean though is that um, intrinsically, when we're no longer dealing with our head space and we're listening to our body, our hearts, right? Because this is just a place with stuff going on. It's not the whole place, and we discount a lot of this. That's part of that boys don't cry. They disconnect from their emotions and compartmentalize, and so you're not connected with the main source of your switches, your triggers. That it all comes. There's an emotional thing happening, and most people are disconnected from it, right? But if you if you connect to it and you listen to it, intrinsically, we know what's right and what doesn't work. We know what's for humanity, and we know what we know what is intrinsically in alignment, right? But we got to get out of here. And we need to listen here, and we need to connect here to have that information. Otherwise, we're just caught in the rat race, right?
Absolutely. Getting connected with your body and feeling your emotions. The video I sent you, Teal Swan, she talks about how you need to sit with your emotions and feel them and fully agree. When you're feeling hurt, pain, rejection, fear, anxiety, whatever it is, bottling it up or stuffing it down doesn't work. You have to feel it and you have to work through it.
That's
And
right.
it hurts. It sucks. It's hard. It's painful. It's uncomfortable. It's
We
annoying.
we also pretend that we can push it down and that it goes away, right?
All you're doing is compressing it, and when you're compressing it, it's like a bomb. You're packing it tighter and tighter like a stick
Yes.
of dynamite,
And
and
at
it
some
will go.
point, that's right. At some point, something's going to hit it, and it'll probably be something minuscule compared to the reality that's actually going on in the background, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, and if it happens to be another human being, they get the other side of a bomb. They weren't there for the rest of what you've been building up and carrying with you that you wouldn't. And it doesn't have to be good or bad. You can even be just as bad in the moment. Feel it, cry, angry, punch a couple pillows, whatever, and let go, right? It's gone,
Yeah.
it's done, let go. But you got to feel it. You can't just, because it doesn't really go away. We are energetic beings, emotional beings, and we have fallen so far from our body, right? We've gotten caught in the analytical part of trying to figure things out and forgotten that we are tuning forks, you
Yes.
know?
Yes. Love it. Good
Yeah.
stuff. We always have the best conversations.
Yeah. I
Um,
love talking with
Before
you.
we end this, though, do you want to plug in for people that want to follow your business and see
Okay. Yeah.
the journey there that you're on with the company To Your Door?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Um,
plug that where people can check
yeah,
out more
sure.
about what you do.
So I am one of the owners in a partnership with the To Your Door brand. We are located in Huntsville, Alabama, and we are serving the entire Madison County area. We do direct delivery. You can order our products from our website, pick your day and time, and we show up with your package at that time. So it's direct delivery, no brick and mortar. We do some events and shows because it's fun and it's nice, and we get to meet people and get clients from that. But all of our products are curated in-house. Everything is 100% clean. It's organic products. It's integrally right what we carry, and we manage it all in-house with my many years of experience in the entirety of the industry. And you can check us out at our website, which is toyourdoorhsv.com, TOYOURDOOR, HSV.com, or our Facebook, and definitely like us. And we release regular content. We release content regularly related to the industry, related to what we're doing, and the fight for our freedoms, right? Um, and if not, you can just like this video because it was a sweet video.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Dave. This has been a phenomenal conversation. Always with you, we talk about the most amazing, deep issues. Anything else, any advice you want to give to someone who, maybe not somebody facing prison, but somebody that's facing a big hurdle? What advice could you give to them to persevere?
And I'll call it a two-parter. Um, if you're reactive, if you're in the moment, get out of that. Meditate, go eat a cheeseburger, do whatever you need to get away from it and give yourself some space, right? Decisions shouldn't be made in a snap while you're heightened like that, right? So get some space for perspective, whatever the decision is. And sometimes these things don't make sense now, but I promise you, 20 years from now, everything happened just right. So if you can just be there knowing that you're getting exactly what you need when you need it and find a way to accept it, just right down river, right? So, and then of course, on the other side, if you're frustrated or in a fight or whatever it is, will this matter in 10 years? Because if it's not going to matter in 10 years, let go now.
Good advice. Thank you so much, Dave. This has been phenomenal.
Love you, Tammy. It's always awesome working with you.
Love you too, friends.
I talk to you later.